guys, and welcome back to a vlog where I read and talk about books. Whoa. Okay, so I kind of straight want to go into this. It is Thursday today. I've just worked all week, so I really haven't had the energy to read much or start this vlog. And I also worked this weekend, but I'm off for 2 days now, so I'm gonna have as much reading time as I can. I'm currently reading God of the Woods by Liz Moore, as you've seen in some clips. I had my eyes on this for quite some time, and I got a used copy, which I'm very happy about, and I've only just started it. I'm on page 22, so I've just started it yesterday before work, so I haven't gotten much into it, but I'm liking the vibe so far. It's basically 1975, and there's this camp that goes on every summer, like a summer camp does, and the family that owns the camp, and also like they not only own the camp, they're kind of like a powerful family that just are very important people, and everyone that lives there around there like knows them, and they're very, you know, powerful, I guess. And they own this camp, and they have a daughter that's 13 years old, Barbara, and she originally wasn't supposed to be on this camp, but she is, and she disappears. One morning, one of the counselors, camp leaders, found that she's not in her bunk bed. And of all the kids that go missing, she's like, why Barbara? Because this is gonna cost me a lot of trouble, obviously, because I mean, any kid would be horrible, I know, but I'm just like, she's saying this from her perspective. That's like, why of all the kids this one? Because it's like the owner's daughter, so it's like a huge deal. But the funny thing is, or not so funny, but the weird thing is that Barbara's older brother, like 14 years ago, also disappeared, and it's just very weird. So basically the first chapter is like one of the counselors waking up and finding that Barbara is gone, and then the other 2 chapters that I read follow other girls that are in the camp, like kind of their way there and their experience. So I think we're gonna have a little bit of like a time jump, which I enjoy. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I haven't really read much more, but I'm excited. I think I've heard very mixed reviews. I heard very good reviews in the beginning, but now I've looked into it more. I feel like a lot of people didn't like it, which is obviously okay, but I fell for the cover. I know, that's what I do. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far, and I'm excited to read more today. Okay, since I haven't gotten much progress and on my current read, I thought we could talk about some books that I've recently read. I've read this summer, and these are the 4 books that I've read this summer, and thought we could chat a little bit about them. So the first book I have is The Paper Palace by Miranda Coley Heller, and I found this by searching on Google like books like Where the Crawdads Sing, because I love that book. It's one of my favorite books, and I just really wanted a book with that same vibe, but I thought it was really hard to find, and this one popped up and I bought a used copy. I really love this cover, so I was drawn to it. It was good. I enjoyed it. I do see a little bit of the similarities to Where the Crawdads Sing. We follow this main character who is a woman who now in present time is happily married, and they have kids, and then you have dual timelines, and you follow her in her childhood when she grew up, and teenage years, and her first real love and difficulties that she's been through, and also in the present time, this guy that she used to be in love with is here, like, and it just creates difficulties, and she's like, what am I gonna do? Yeah, it's kind of not a fancy cutesy book. It's more of a little bit more serious, deeper book. I don't know, I feel like, and Where the Crawdads Sing is also that, so I really enjoyed the similarities, and I did enjoy this book. The next book I have is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I've had this on my shelf for a while. I bought this like when I read back in the day, because I obviously not read in a while before the summer of school. We just read so much in school that I don't have the motivation to read. But I finally picked it up, and right off the first chapter, I was like, what is this? Because it is so lovey-dovey perfect. Like, and I was so annoyed at that in the beginning, like how she, you know, moved to this town and nothing, she had nothing, like she had no car, no home, no money, no plan, and everything just worked out for her. Like on the literally first day she got into this town, she got this and that and this and that, like a freaking Disney movie. And I was really annoyed at that in the beginning, because I was like, this is so unrealistic. I'm so mad, like I don't like this. But after a while I actually kind of enjoyed the process and was like, okay, let me live in this fantasy land for a little bit. It's kind of nice. This is not how reality works, but it's kind of nice to live in this fantasy world. It's not fantasy, but you know what I mean, like where everything works out perfectly. It's kind of a long book, so I definitely think it'd been a little bit shorter, but I liked it. It was just nice. And people say that this is the worst book in the series, so people say that the second and third book is better. So I'm definitely intrigued to continue the series. And we follow other main characters. I think the second book is Nash and the third book is Lucifer. Is that his name? And I don't really know those characters too well from this book. We've heard about them and they are in it, but I don't know a lot about them. So because of that, I'm not too excited to read them, but I've heard a lot of people say this is the worst book of them all. So that makes me excited to read the rest if I liked this one. So yeah. Next book is The 7-Year Slip, and this one I've had on my bookshelf also for a long time. Actually, I think I bought this at the same time I bought Things We Never Got Over. This is The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston, and let me tell you, I've had this on my shelf for a long time and I never picked it up. And I know I don't know why I'm like this, but I am, and I hate this cover. I think I've always been like, it doesn't look good, I'm not gonna like it because of the cover, and that's obviously so wrong. And then I finally picked it up because I just saw some really good reviews and I was like, okay, it seems really good, so I might as well pick it up. And oh my god, I really enjoyed it. There were times where I was bored, but those boring like little pages, I got over them really fast. So I think it was just really short amount of time, but I was bored at sometimes. But we follow this girl and she lives in New York City, which is like the first thing. I don't really like the New York City vibe. I know a lot of people do. You know, I'm more of the, I don't know, country, a little bit small town vibe girl. I really like that. I don't really like books set in New York City, but so that was like the first thing, but it's fine. And she is really like career focused. She is working in book publishing, I believe, or something like that. You know, I don't really understand everything that's going on in New York City with all the jobs. She's really career focused and she's pretty young, and she's already climbing up the ladder, you know, at work, and she's really successful in what she does. And she has this aunt, I believe it was her aunt, had this apartment in New York City and that she would come and visit a lot. And her aunt was this kind of really special person. She was alone and she traveled a lot, so they traveled together, like they've been all over the world together. That was like their thing. And then time moves on and something happens, and this main character gets to move in to this apartment that her aunt used to live in. And her aunt used to say when she was a kid, like, this apartment is magical, but obviously she didn't really believe it. But when she moves into this apartment, she kind of begins to understand that she wasn't lying and there is something magical about this apartment. And I love a romance where there's a little bit of a fantasy concept in it, and especially in this way. I loved it. It was so wholesome, and I think it was really good. So if you haven't read this, I think you really should. I think it was like heart-wrenching in such a good way. I'm so glad I finally picked it up. So this was a really good book. Lastly, we have All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. I have not bought a Colleen Hoover book in a while. I know that a lot of people don't really like her. I have mixed opinions. I have some books that I really enjoyed, and I have also a lot of books of her that I am selling currently on Vinted. So, but I have read a lot of her books that are really good and emotional, and I've cried. So I have this on my shelf and I thought I should read it. And this is about a woman. I feel like this is very similar to the other books in a way, because it's also like a 7-year slip, which is in the 7-year slip. And it's also about this woman who's struggling in her marriage, which is in the Paper Palace. So I feel like this is a little bit of a mix of the Paper Palace and the 7-year slip in a way. And she is married, and also here you have dual timelines. So you have present time where she's been married to this guy for 7 years and they are miserable, really struggling. And then you have 7 years ago when they kind of, I don't know if it was when they first met. Yeah, I think it was when they first met, and how they fell in love so quickly and so hard. And for me, it was really hard, and like I got this like punch in the gut to read. 7 years ago, they were so in love and like they were soulmates, and now 7 years later, it's like they're barely functioning. It's really heart-wrenching, but I did kind of enjoy it. Thought sometimes it was a little bit boring. Also, I think it's kind of important, and it was really nice to read how things can work out even though some things aren't working out. And I thought it was kind of a cute way how they met and kind of just soulmate kind of thing. So I didn't have a lot of expectations going into this, but I think it definitely went over my expectations because I went in with pretty low expectations, I think. So I've actually read some pretty good books this summer. I really enjoy these, and yeah, if you haven't read these, I highly recommend that you do. I looked back at the clip where I talked about, like, literally seconds ago for you guys, where I talked about how they met. Also, I'm very red because it's very, very warm. I'm sweaty. Where I talked about how they met, and I said that they met in a cute way. I don't know if I would describe it as a cute way. They literally meet, and this is not a spoiler because it literally happens right away, but they literally meet because of their partners cheating. You know what I mean? Like, her partner is, like, 7 years ago, her boyfriend is cheating on her with this guy's girlfriend, and that's how they meet. So I don't know if I would describe it as a cute way to meet, but I would describe it as a very weird way to meet and a very special way to meet, and that obviously creates a lot of emotions. And yeah, I don't know why I said it was a cute way to meet, because it's not. It's just a very special way to meet, I guess. Okay, so I've gotten up to page 103 in The God of Woods, and I haven't yet read today. So this is all yesterday. I'm gonna read more today, but I'm really enjoying it so far. We have gotten a lot more background facts, background information, and I feel like we're gonna get a lot more, obviously, on the camp and the camp's history. Like, it's been going on for such a long time, and we have gotten more information and followed Alice, which is Barbara's mother, the girl who's gone missing, and also like the family that owns the camp and are a very respected family. We've gotten to follow her and her in the past when she was a teenager and met her now husband, which is the father of Barbara, and how they met and how that went down, and just like kind of how the camp started. There's like a lot of interesting history there. We've also gone to follow Tracy, like now in 1975, when the camp is on for the summer and Barbara goes missing. Trace is her bunkmate, and you kind of follow from Tracy's perspective when she got there and how she kind of befriended Barbara and no one else. Like, she's a very shy kid, and she, like, Barbara was the only one who kind of talked to her, and you got to know a little bit more about Barbara because of Tracy, and like that Barbara used to sneak out every night, so it wasn't unusual. And yeah, it's very interesting. And I feel like we've also gone a little bit more about the disappearance that happened 14 years ago with Barbara's older brother. Not a whole lot, but like a little. And it's very interesting, and I'm excited to read more. I feel like I really enjoy the dual timelines and dual perspective. We follow a lot of different perspectives and dual timelines, so it's really interesting. And sometimes I feel like I'm a little bit bored because it's so much text and it's very informative and it's very, I don't know, but I am enjoying it and I'm excited to read more today. We also have learned about a man named Jacob who back in the 1960s were arrested for like 11 murders, and he was notorious for like going around camps and murdering people. He never confessed, but they found like DNA and witnesses have seen him, but he never ever confessed to the murders. But he got arrested and got put in prison. And this was also around the time that Bear disappeared, which is Barbara's older brother. So there's this rumor going around in the present time here in 1975 that he's the man that took Bear. So that's what everyone's talking about, and that is what everyone believes, even though there's no indications for it. But he was like around that time and he murdered people at camps. So that's what everyone thinks. But he have been in prison ever since then, but recently he escaped and it's like known now, and people are just very worried that he will come, or like that he's taken Barbara, who is now disappeared. So yeah, it was very interesting because you had like one chapter at least where you follow from his perspective, and now we've kind of gotten other perspectives and they talk about him and stuff. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. But he never confessed, but they did find evidence. So we also know from 1961 when Bear disappeared, I believe it was 1961, and you follow like the search party that happened then and how his father and grandfather look for him and everything. And it's just a little bit weird because we follow this man Carl, who is working at the local fire rescue, then the volunteer fire department that helps look for Bear in 1961. And he has seen things, like he saw Bear one time and he just seemed scared of his grandfather, and just like something felt off. And how they're acting now when Bear is missing, they feel like they don't really care. Obviously they care because they have a search party going on and stuff, but Carl keeps thinking like, if this was my son, I would be out all day and all night to look for my son, you know, until I can't physically stand anymore. And that's not really how it's going on. So I feel like their whole family dynamic is very odd. And there are a lot of other characters too that are pretty interesting. That kind of was around back then in 1960 and also now in present time in 1975. That it just feels all connected. So there's just very weird family dynamics, and yeah, it's just very interesting. Okay, it's quite some time later. It's around like 5-ish. And I've gotten up to page 241. I've gotten up to page 241 and I'm honestly very confused and like, what the fuck is going on? Because there's so much, as I mentioned, the dynamics is just very off and very weird, and relationships and people not being honest with each other and people lying, a lot of lying, and just like we have now 2 main suspects of the disappearance of Barbara, and I'm like, no, it just doesn't make any sense. At least one of them, it's like really weird, and they're blaming each other. It's just like really weird, and I'm just wondering what the fuck is going on. And I feel like we haven't really gotten the real answers yet. So I'm very conflicted. It's just a lot going on, and we follow so many perspectives and timelines that if I didn't enjoy it so much, I would have a hard time following like all of the different things. But I am enjoying it, so I feel like right now it's easy to follow. Oh. But yeah, I'm pretty confused, to be honest, but I've gotten more than halfway, which is very exciting. And I do work this weekend, day shifts, so I'm hoping that I can finish this book this weekend after work. That would be great, either tomorrow or Sunday. That would be nice, so I'm hoping that I can do that. That will be the goal, at least. My partner soon gets off work and we talked about like maybe ordering some food, and we are currently watching 90210. Not the one from the 80s, but the newer one, which is kind of getting old now. But I've seen it before, my partner hasn't, so it was really fun to see him like watch it for the first time. It's iconic for me, that show, and for me it's so cool to see like season 1 comparison to the last season or the last couple of seasons. Like the couple, my favorite couple in the later seasons that I remember, like my favorite couple, they aren't even a thing yet. They haven't even had a scene together kind of moment. Maybe they have, but they haven't even like talked to each other. You can't even possibly imagine them being a couple. And it's so fun because I'm like saying to my partner, like, you can only imagine which people are gonna end up together, because it ain't how it is now. It's just so funny and weird how different it is, I guess. Good morning. It is very early in the morning. It's 5:39 in the morning and I'm getting ready to head to work. I work day shift today. I work until 3:15. But I wanted to update you real quick. I read a lot last night. I stayed up way too late reading. I'm on page 324 and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. And I'm hoping I can finish it today after work, tonight, or tomorrow. I should be able to, I hope so, if I'm not too tired from work. But I feel like, as I mentioned, there's so many different timelines and different perspectives, and I feel like it's just all intertwined, and at some points it feels a bit messy to read about so many different people and at different timelines. But as I mentioned, I feel like it's, in the end, it's all gonna be intertwined, and it's necessary for the story to be like that. It's just so good, and I'm excited to hopefully get some answers today or tomorrow, because I genuinely cannot grasp what's happening, and that's a good sign, right? That's a good story, I feel like, when you can't really figure it out. But yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Okay, I finished this book last night. I didn't think I was gonna, because I felt like I had a lot left, and it's a pretty hefty book, and even if it doesn't look like it, as I've kind of explained, it's a lot going on, and if I genuinely hadn't enjoyed this, I don't think I would have been able to finish it, because it's just a lot, and it's like a lot to understand, it's a lot to take in. We follow so many different perspectives, we follow many different timelines, and I feel like it's kind of easy to get lost and be bored. But since I enjoyed it so much, I did, you know, kind of go through it pretty easy. But it's a lot. I feel like we have so many different parts. I feel like the main story is, you know, these crimes that have happened, these missing people. First, the missing boy in 1961, and then the missing girl in 1975. And you jump between them, but also between different timelines. And you have so much history, which I enjoyed, which made it very interesting. History about the camp, history about a lot of the characters, and just so much in depth about everything, which made it such an interesting book. But you know what I also liked? I also liked that through all of this hard stuff going on and a lot of difficult things happening, you still have that kind of, I got a few moments where there's this like camp feeling, summer camp feeling, where friendships are made and it just kind of felt wholesome. So you had that too as well, a little bit, I think, in the midst of everything else going on. But oh my god, what a book. I knew I was gonna like it. I just had this feeling. It never would I have expected it to be what it was. I feel like, yeah, it's a book that I highly recommend, but as I said, it's a lot, and if you don't enjoy it, you're probably maybe not gonna get through it, because it's so much and it's kind of hard to keep up at some points, honestly. Such an interesting book, as I said, about everything. Mystery, it has friendship, it has love, and in a weird way, it was genuinely a really good book. It is early in the morning on Sunday and I'm soon heading to work, but I am thinking about what my next read is going to be. It's not going to be in this vlog, but I got A Host by Stephanie Meyer, a used copy. Don't judge me on that. I haven't read it, and I bought it only because it's Stephanie Meyer, of course. And even though it's nothing like Twilight, I believe, I think it's like a science fiction with aliens or something, I don't really know, but I got it. I was actually picking that up before I got The God of the Woods, but then I decided to pick up The God of the Woods, which I'm not sad about. So, but I'm wondering if that's gonna be my next read, or if I'm gonna wait on some books that I have that are on their way, that I've bought used copies of unvinted. That's been my thing recently, buying books unvinted, like with the money that I've sold books for. So in Girl Math, it's really free books, which is very nice. I'm gonna end the vlog here. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video, whenever that will be. But yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.